Hey Bayek, it's me Ian, and in today's video I'm continuing my look at classic albums from my collection. And this I consider a classic album, though I don't think everybody would. Anyhow, this is Entertainment by Gang of Four, and it's from 1979. And this is their debut album. Um, and they were a band who I knew pretty well on the sort of circuit, really. They were formed in 1976 in Leeds. There you can see Leeds, yes. And of course there is a gap there before they got this album released, which is in 1979. Now it was, as I say, formed in 1976 by John King as a singer, Andy Gill guitarist, Dave Allen bass, and Hugo Burnham drums. Now, to the present day, there are 10 studio albums, 3 live albums, 4 compilation albums, and 7 EPs. Now, there is a history of breaking up, and in 1983, they broke up. But then between 1987 and 1997, they reformed. And then 2004 to 2012, they were continuing. But in 2012, there was a change in lineup, and then Andy Gill joined the final lineup in 2012 after leaving before, and that went on, of course, until he died in 2020, and then in 2021 they've continued. They continue as a band to this day. Now, it's interesting if you look at them as a band that there are no keyboards at all, and that very much influences, I think, the sound as well of this album, and as a group as well as they are. So this album is 39 minutes and 53 seconds long. It was recorded in 1979, released 25th of September 1979. It was recorded at the Workhouse Studio, Old Kent Road, London, and the label was EMI, and then in North America it was on Warner Brothers, and it's produced by Andy Gill, John King, and Rob Ware, the manager. The album's artwork was designed by John King and was very much a political sort of album statement, I suppose. We see a Native American shaking hands with a white man, and there's some sort of art design thing about this shaking of the hands. It's all sort of a political influence, anyhow. This is sort of a left-wing kind of influence there. So, let's go through the lineup. We have got John King on lead vocals and the melodicia, and which is like the harmonica kind of sound. We've got backing vocals, and then we've got Andy Gill, of course, electric guitar, vocals and backing vocals. We've got Dave Allen, bass guitar, backing vocals, and then we've got Hugo Burnham playing the drums. Now, all these tracks were written by Gang of Four. So they credited Allen, Burnham, Gill, and King. And the album opens with Ether. Then we've got Natura, Not In It. And then we've got Not Great Men, Damaged Goods, Return the Gift, Guns Before Butter. I think some of those titles reflect the political aspects of this album, the ideology, I suppose you could call it, in the lyrics. We've got Then I Found That Essence Rare, Glass, Contract, At Home He's a Tourist, 5.45 or 5:45, and then Anthrax was the last track, and wow, that is an amazing track. I think it reflects very much their sort of music and the album. That guitar is absolutely amazing. It really is, where it cuts into you, as is reflected in the whole album. His playing was so remarkable. What a guitarist. I say, so influential and recognised, at his death, the tributes and that, amazing. Then on this, you get bonus tracks, and the bonus tracks is the Yellow EP. So you've got Outside the Trains Don't Run on Time, He'd Send in the Army, and then It's a Factory. And the single released on here was At Home He's a Tourist. It is actually quite a catchy number, I think, because not all of these are sort of very melodic, but it has a certain, I can say, a radio-friendly side maybe, but possibly too much for some people. But there is that. It's very much, you can see it as the obvious single. It was a minor hit, and but I don't think that matters, really. It didn't matter. The album was out. It's got a lot of fans. It sold enough, they did, to continue. And, when you're a label, there's two kinds of investments. There's the ones that are really after the singles. Obviously, everybody wants a hit single, but then you're backing the albums and creating album releases, and the label continued to back them, which is good. And as I say, it sold reasonably well, and also it's highly thought of now. So, I think it stands very, very much in that area of an album, a band that could produce singles, but ultimately albums were what they were about, and live. I think the one thing you can say about the Gang of Four is that they're alive, very much a live band. That's how they live and breathe. They did, and I think in a way that continues why they're still performing. Say sadly without Andy Gill, and of course he did leave for quite a period as well in time, but he did come back, I think, say 2012. So this band, I think, stands up as very much of the post-punk era, really. Their music, they weren't playing, I say they were formed in 76, but musically, they're very much different. They're not this sort of thrash kind of punk. They very much have got these influences, they're almost a sort of funk, like Talking Heads. They're different from Talking Heads because they come from maybe a different influence, but they have that sort of the funkiness influence mixed with punk, and you get that in the rhythm. And then the guitars as well. His guitar, it stands out. It's the Gang of Four. You just play a track and you hear the vocal, the drum, and then that guitar, and it's them. They're that kind of band that stand out. There's something about them, and they were championed, of course, by a lot of people. Obviously, John Peel, John Peel, I remember listening to them on the radio. And of course, I saw them. There was a supporting band, or they were around on the sort of college circuit as well, making a name for themselves, getting a following. And they deserved the success they got with this album, because this album was quite successful. And it is now, as they considered, a really good example of their music. And it's a fitting tribute that we can still talk about it today, now that Andy Gill is no longer with us, that it still stands out. And, you know, when you've got people like Kurt Cobain mentioning Gang of Four in Nirvana, or Flea, Red Hot Chili Peppers, then you know the influence. Oh, and even Michael Stipe of REM. That says a lot that this band is getting referenced, because that's the influence they had. This album, I absolutely love it. It brings, for me, it's more, I suppose, of a nostalgia. I go back to those times, as I often do. I love that period in my life. I saw all these wonderful live groups, and Gang of Four I saw, you know, from my hometown grow. And even when I went to university away from Leeds, I still saw them live, because they'd pop up on various gigs that you'd go to. And it was always good to see them, and I was really pleased that this album in 1979 came out and was such a really influential album. I remember buying it and thinking, wow, this is exactly... They transferred over the live album into a studio album. That is how good this band were. But they very much, for me, always were a live band that you had to see live, and the excitement of them. And I remember when I heard that he died in 2020, I just felt so sad, really, because it was like my remembrance of those memories of how good a guitar player he was, and that he was still doing it, you know, up to 2020. He was still performing. What a sad loss that was. It really was. Anyhow, I don't want to know. I want to end on a positive note, because the positive note is that this is an influential album, and I really enjoy it, and it brings back so many great, superb memories. So before I go, as I normally do, there it is. There's the album. There's the back. And then inside, we've got, look at this, nice yellow. Yeah, but of course, remember, it's the music that's the most important. It does look nice, and then there's more notes here, and then inside, we've got, I'll just show you. We've got all this of the lyrics, the artwork there. You see the artwork. Isn't that fantastic? Amazing. Absolutely love it. Yeah, I wouldn't swap this for anything. It's another great CD. CDs are fantastic. Brilliant. So that's it. I've finished, I think. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, and we'll let you know when I put out these videos. I don't do just music. Music's not really a big part even. I do a lot of film and TV reviews. And if you look in the playlist, you can see all the things that I do. Yeah, well, hopefully you might have a look and might be interested. And if you like this video as well, please give it a like. It gets out onto YouTube so other people might enjoy it. And if you've got any comments, please put your comments down. I love to read your comments. By Ekadu, and I'll always answer them. So that's it. So all I've got to say is, I'll see thee again.